While I find it awesome that we have yet another big study getting launched here by the AIAA, being announced, it's basically, being announced this week. I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome that basically the country's largest organization of government and private sector technical experts, the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, is basically coming out and stating that from what they see, right, UAP, they're a safety hazard, and we're going to study this. I think that's fantastic. While while those kind of things are moving forward, while the Congress continues to, move forward with legislation, looks like it's going to get passed soon. That's going to basically provide whistleblower protection to people who know things within the Pentagon, insiders who know things and maybe want to talk about it, but they can't because there's going to be retribution. But once this legislation passed, there won't be any retribution. That's great. All this stuff is great, right? But it seems like the focus is on the objects themselves, like trying to figure out what the objects are themselves, and that's fantastic. I'm not saying that that's not a good thing. It is a good thing. It's a great thing. But the focus needs to be on some other aspects of this whole phenomenon too. It just can't be focused on what the objects are doing. We need to accept this, okay? Yes, a lot of these things could be explained, right? There's no question about it. Probably, a vast majority of UFO sightings probably have a prosaic explanation. I agree with that. But some things do not, right? And so we know this. There's been so many incidents over these past 75 years now that we know for a fact that there's things out there that obviously were not created by humankind. Obviously, it's common sense, right? So we have to accept that. That's what it is. It's some non-human intelligence. There's just too many people that have seen beings that aren't humans, right? That are associated with these craft when they're landed or showing up in someone's house or causing them to, basically controlling them somehow mentally, telepathically, causing someone who's driving down the highway basically to drive off the highway against their will and pull in front of a flying saucer and then be escorted onto a flying saucer and examined by alien beings. Okay, like there needs to be a focus on that too. There's no study yet with that, and maybe that's going to come, and maybe some people behind the scenes realize that there needs to be something publicly, and I understand in a way why it's not happening now, because for right now we're like in this slow disclosure process. They're still pretending like they don't know what it is, right? We could be Russian or Chinese, right? That kind of stuff. Even though a lot of us know for a fact that it's not Russian or Chinese, right? It's something from another planet. There's beings from another planet coming here, and they're up to something, right? And there's just so many different reports, and so many different researchers have looked into this. There's been thousands of people who claim to have been abducted. We have all these issues, these other issues, in addition to the problems that these things pose to our aircraft. Obviously they could crash into us. They could actually destroy us. There's been so many different reports of that happening over the years, actually. Especially early on in the 50s and 60s, there was some cases where people tried to shoot these things down, and the UFOs, the flying saucers, shot back and basically disintegrated the aircraft. There was a lot of people that went out chasing after them in jet fighters and never returned. There's a lot of reports like this. So yes, that's a concern, but there's other concerns here. What are they doing? That's the big concern. There needs to be a scientific study at that. And so but it seems like we need to wait until the government, somebody in a high place, right, comes out and just tells the world, we think these are extraterrestrial. Like once we get to that point, right, we need to get to that point, is what I'm saying. We're not getting to that point quick enough, as far as I'm concerned, right? It needs to be stated that, hey, these things are extraterrestrial. And then we could take it to the next stage. Okay, they're extraterrestrial. What are they up to? Then once the world accepts, once the world hears from the government leaders of the world, yes, these are we believe these craft are extraterrestrial. Then we could say, okay, we need to look into these cattle mutilations and potential abductions. There needs to be something done with that. It could be too late. As far as I'm concerned. It might be too late right now. It might have been too late 15, 20, 30 years ago. In fact, we might never have a chance anyway to stop whatever they're doing. If there's this hybridization program and they're slowly trying to take us over, it could be too late. There's a lot of, some of these books by David Jacobs will blow your mind. The Threat, I've talked about these books before. Walking Among Us was another book. These books are scary, but he did the research. He did the research himself. He's met with these people. He's talked with hundreds of different people over the years, and had all of them under hypnotic regression, and they all told very similar stories. And when you put all the pieces together, the story is that these beings are basically creating a hybrid race, and they're basically populating the earth with some of these people. They're these beings, these hybrids, right? They're here. They're already here. They've been here. They're living among us, some of them, according to people like Jacobs and other researchers. Is it too late to figure out what they're up to and what they're trying to do here? I mean, are we done? I mean, I guess that's the question. If for all we know, there might be some of us that are actually hybrids and we don't even freaking know it. This has been going on so long now. This program's been going on so long that there might be some people that actually out there, they just don't even know it. They're out there and they're just going about their business and they have no idea yet. And they won't be activated until whatever this big plan is that these aliens have. Like again, Jacobs talks about the change is coming. There's a change going to happen in some point in the future, right? The change is, I don't know if, now again, this is all speculation, and this is what he's learned. I don't know if all this is true, but I think at the same time, based on, I know that these beings exist. I know that there's an extraterrestrial beings around. There was a presence in my room when I was a kid, so I know for a fact that that's going on. That's the only encounter that I know of. I mean, I've lived a long life now, and that's the only thing that I know of. But I know because of that incident that these things are real, right? So they're up to something, right? There's other people that encounter these things on a regular basis. We have more to worry about than our aircraft crashing into a UFO. We have more to worry about than just that. I am glad with all these studies, again, like I said before, but we need to worry about all these other things. What are they doing? What's going on here? What are they up to? Are they trying to take over the world somehow, like right in front of our eyes, and we can't see it? We can't see it happening. Or do people in the government have any idea about this? Are they doing anything? Are there any science? See, this is the problem. You need every scientist in the world looking at it. If this is what is happening, we need to be talking about this. I don't know. To me, it's just like it feels like there needs to be more than just studies of UFOs, of the objects themselves. Yes, they do pose a threat. I'm glad for those studies, right? And I just feel impatient waiting till we get to the point when finally it's stated, publicly by officials, high up people that we elect, or people that have been working in top secret programs for decades to come forward. It seems like we have to wait for these people to come up and to tell the rest of the world so everybody knows, because nobody's going to just listen to people like me, like singular people that have no position, right? I have no position. David Jacobs, he's there's a lot of people out there, like David Jacobs, he's a PhD that studied this, right? But he's not someone in the government. The government could it seems like whatever the government tells the people, most of the people believe it. And I understand why the government has lied about this for all these years. That makes sense to me. I mean, I understand why the lie started initially, right? I don't understand why they're taking so long to come out with it. This should have started coming out a lot quicker than 2017. It could be too late, whatever's going on. I don't know. I just think that this is something that needs to be, there needs to be other studies in addition to studying the objects themselves. There needs to, the people who are getting abducted need to be studied by large groups of different scientific organizations, like, cattle mutilations, that needs to be studied by, top scientists. We need to get it's not just the objects. There's other things associated with this, right, that need to be studied by the top scientists and engineers of the world, right? These groups need to look more into it than just the objects themselves and try to determine what they are. I mean, they're extraterrestrial. That's going to be, if they're not extraterrestrial, I always say extraterrestrial, that's a placeholder. If they're not extraterrestrial, some people say ultra-terrestrial, whatever they are, right? They're non-human. We could use extraterrestrial as a place card until a placeholder until we know for sure, right? But I believe that they're extraterrestrial, right? But they're not human. Whatever that's going on, there's a non-human entity here, and the world needs to accept it already. Right, the government needs to come out. We're playing these games too long. We're still stretching it out too long. It's too long. Like, I don't know whose idea this was to stretch this out too long. Yeah, okay, yeah, things are starting to turn now, right? Yeah, things are starting to turn now, but it's still not quick enough. Anyway, well, we'll see what happens, I guess. I know I said this before. I've said it before in the past that we need other studies, not just on the objects themselves. We need studies of the people who claim to be abducted, because obviously all these people aren't crazy. They're not crazy. None of them are. No, some of them here and there might be lying, right? But for the most part, these people aren't crazy. They're telling the truth. Okay. The cattle, you can't fake a cattle mutilation, right? There's no explanation. All these has been going on we know for a fact it's been going on since the 60s, right? There was no satanic cult that's ever been arrested for it, not yet anyway. All these years, right? Over 50 years now that we know of. Well over 50 years since the first one that we really know about was 1967. Although there have been other reports before that, but it really didn't start becoming a thing until around 1967. People like Linda Moulton Howe did a great job investigating these things, and there's, it's UFOs, it's aliens that are doing it. That's who's doing it. But again, the scientific community, the top scientific organizations should have been looking at this a long time ago. I mean, what are they waiting for? You already have the government telling you right now for the last 5 years now, saying, oh, there's objects out there. We don't know what they are. They're finally starting to come clean. You can't see this? You can't see that this is a slow disclosure? Come on, snap out of it. Snap out of it. There's more to it than just the objects. There's beings here, and they're up to no good.